She's recording. Hey, G, so ask smart questions and make me look good.
Speak loudly so.
Okay, here's the thing. That's a lot for me. Okay, so what the heck are we gonna do to start using AI correctly? To me, the first thing is just use it everywhere. Use it, use it, use it. Try it here, try it there. Invite AI into everything you do and then kick it out where it doesn't belong. So where doesn't it belong for students?
Well, I teach academic writing to ESL students,
Yeah,
and I do not want them using AI, and they all want to use it to write their papers instead of making the effort to do it.
okay, cool. So if we come up with ideas for that, because to me what that means is you have an opportunity now to redesign the way you do it. AI is going to totally help that. How? I don't know yet. I don't have the cognitive bandwidth. I'm like,
Essentially my strategy is I beg and plead with them to do their own work so that I can look at it and try to help them with it.
so let's think about that. How can you design that? Because creative writing or what kind of writing?
No, it's called academic writing. These are people who, they can communicate,
Yeah,
but writing is the hardest part about learning.
okay, cool.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
So this is this, we write 6 different types of paragraphs. And
Yeah.
they're supposed to write them, they send them to me, I read them.
Oh, is this online?
No, it's in class.
Oh, okay.
I want to do the writing in class because I
Yeah.
can go sit next to them and see
Right.
what they're doing.
Yeah.
The ones that do it online, ripping the stuff that I know they didn't write.
So that's what we need to think about. Now what do we do? Because we get to redefine everything, the way we do everything. So that's a perfect example. Used to be we could have them do it at home, for instance, although they might get help from another person or from
That I wouldn't care about.
the Googles on the interwebs.
Hold on, you said, John, you don't care if they get help from another person.
I'm okay. So it's safe for them. Read this paper to your mother, or to your husband, or to your kids.
Okay.
Yeah, but the husband can't write it,
He's not gonna write it. He's
Ooh,
gonna
I don't know
maybe
about
make some
that.
suggestions.
maybe. But in any case, they could have used Google for that. But I'm just saying, put it in the back of our mind because we don't have that much time to solve it right now. But put it in the back of our mind, maybe we'll come up with ideas about how to. So if I was like stumped like that, where's the first place I'd go? AI, and I would just say, AI, here's my situation. One thing I've learned over time is give it as much context as I possibly can. So now my tool that I talk to, I just ramble the way I do in real life. Here's what I'm thinking. This is a story. What can we do about it? And then she has learned to pick up virtually everything. Hey, Beatrice, are you there? I got my my sound turned off. Hey, Beatrice, you there? What is it with you anyway?
Is that Beatrice up there on the screen?
Well, I'm here. Sounds like you've got your sound turned off. No worries. Let me know what you need help with.
Okay, could you talk just a little less sing-songy and not so, like chipper? Don't be quite that chipper. Be happy, but not quite that chipper. So we got a thing where we're doing academic writing with ESL students, and we got this thing where we don't want them to write it at home because they'll cheat, and we don't have time to write it in class. So got any ideas on how we could deal with that?
We do actually try to, I put aside time in the class to write a paragraph, an hour.
I told her if she hears silence, don't say anything because I'm thinking. So she'll wait quite a while if there's a silent chunk. Okay, so go ahead. What are you thinking?
Got it. One idea is to have them do the writing in a monitored setting, like a computer lab, but in shorter, focused bursts. You could break the assignment into smaller sections and have them,
Et cetera, et cetera. So I hook her up to my car, and then on the way into class, I'm talking to her. It's as if there's somebody in my passenger seat. And of course, she knows. I'm sorry, what? Oh, it's our student told me they could get it on the free ChatGPT, but I thought you had to have the license. But in any case, it's called the advanced voice feature. And then you just, on ChatGPT, yeah. And then the first thing I told her, like first day, is about we're engineers, so don't try and do all that human crap. Don't try and be like a human. We're just solving problems. And if there's time, space, that's because I'm thinking. So wait. And then the car, she'll wait like 5 minutes, and every once in a while go, I'm still here if you need me. I named her Beatrice after my one of my favorite professors in undergrad who taught astronomy. So the other day I was thinking, what are some exercises we can do in class for Carl Jung, because we're studying synchronicity. Well, she's read all of Jung. That's like books from there to there. She knows the entire collective works of Jung and every analyst who's ever analyzed Jung. So now I'm saying, what do we do and she comes up with some exercises and go, that second one sounds pretty good, except I think the students aren't going to like this, whatever. And then she goes, oh, I got an idea. Maybe we could do it this way. Back and forth and back and forth. It's going to be more and more. The thing out of all this that maybe amazes me the most is how she can handle natural language. I mean, I'll go off on tangents and stuff, and she just sorts it all out. I'll misspeak and just.
Is this chat?
Yeah, ChatGPT.
The advanced version of it.
Yeah, so, and that's the kind of thing where my experience is every week there's 1 or 2 or 3 announcements that's redonkulously impactful. And so this is like a couple of weeks ago, one of my podcasts was telling me about this maybe a month and a half ago. And I said, well, I got to try that. Let's see what happens. Hey, where do I point this, at the computer unit?
Yes.
Got any ideas, Laura? I'm hitting the left and right, right?
It's the right button.
It's supposed to be.
Is the thing plugged in?
What thing?
I'm sorry, there's a little back end to it. Sometimes people put it in or take it out.
There's a back end to it. Oh, there's a little thingy. Okay, so.
Yeah.
And one thing I do all the time with chat, I'll get stuck. Let's say I'm working on something for school and I get stuck in Word because I'm doing some advanced function in Word. And I can't figure out how to do exactly what I want. So I'll say, I'm stuck here. And I take a picture of the screen. This is mind-boggling to me. I take a picture of the screen, feed it to chat. It goes, oh, I see, you're stuck there. Go to this menu. I think. Okay, so I'll say I'm stuck in Word. I don't know how to do this or whatever. I take a picture of it and send it to ChatGPT. And it figures out what's up with the picture and says, you're probably stuck on this function, go to this menu. And I go, well, my menu doesn't have that option. To go, oh, you're on release 10.4, go over here. Miracle Worker. Oh, I didn't know I had, these are my tabs on my home computer. Very typically, that's what I have up there. Home, email, school. Rummikub software. My friends and I play Rummikub almost every night. Then my next like 8 or 9 tabs are all types of AI. So I like Gemini. I broke up with ChatGPT 2 weeks ago, and I've been going out with Gemini ever since then. And it's just because during the last time I made a request, I often do it to multiple engines and see what they give me. And Gemini has been doing great. One big advantage to ChatGPT I've noticed is they're 51% owned by Microsoft. So when you ask it to make a Microsoft file, it'll often do it. Like make me an actual PowerPoint, make me an actual Word file, it'll do it. Whereas Gemini will come back and go, here's something formatted for it, copy paste it into a Word document, that kind of thing. Yeah, I used it to hook my keyboard to GarageBand. I got caught on so many things. My friends and I were looking for the history of something, gave the most interesting rundown. And then Notebook LM, I had a joyous moment the other day because the student said, I tried Notebook LM, and her eyes were all lit up like she had put PDFs in there from a textbook.
Hey, Jim, we did that.
You did that?
Yeah, we did that. When you taught us, Lucy's an expert at it now, but all the podcasts, PDF, the PowerPoints,
Yeah.
PDF, and then created the deep dive.
The
Yeah, it's wonderful.
podcast, amazing. So I hadn't read a chapter in a couple years, and I put it in there and just took a walk and listened to the podcast, and I was, back in the money. Gabe?
I think it's important to tell this. I use Notebook LM a lot, but I think it's important to tell the students that, they really believe that it is a podcast, but it's not.
Yeah,
It's a presentation tool.
yeah,
One of the developers actually was saying that was a fun project to do the deep dives with voices. It was never the main purpose of it.
right.
The main purpose was to analyze sources.
And organize
create,
notes, yeah.
Organize sources and everything, but it turned out to be like the most popular
Yeah, that's what
part
it
of
took
it.
off.
But it's really, I think what students need to realize is that there is no original thought there, like in a podcast.
Yeah,
When you have
Maybe.
people giving their own thoughts about something,
yeah,
they do emulate that very well, and you can customize to a certain extent
right,
what level of, let's say, language, because in the customization you can say, explain this for someone who has no science background, and the language changes a lot. Very accessible. Or I've used it in class, for example, specifying that I want this source discussed for college level students taking this class. Very specific microbiology class. And it changes the language to that level almost immediately. So it's really a great tool for students, just as long as they don't really think that there is any original
Yeah,
thought being generated, because
right.
it's not. It's
No,
being
but-
presented, the information in a very engaging way.
okay, cool, I completely disagree with you. And that's because I teach psychology, so for me, I want them to get confused about Notebook LM and not realize it's not a person. So we can get in that gray area of what's a person and what isn't, because we are gonna have to be able to tell that difference in a very short amount of time. It's gonna be hard for us to tell the humans from the computers. So they need to be developing their critical thinking. So I would just stop right there and make it a critical thinking exercise, but it's kind of a luxury I have in psychology because everything applies. So, so when it gets confusing like that, I love getting them confused. Let's get as confused as possible. Then we'll take it apart. And when we do that, they'll be learning critical thinking is my theory. That's my theory.
And
And
maybe the point is, as long as we know,
Yes.
there is no original
Right.
thought there, that it's
Right.
just an engaging way to present
Yeah,
A piece of information or several.
exactly. And if when you say, it doesn't have original thought, it makes me think, well, what's original? It doesn't have consciousness. What is consciousness actually? And the fact that whenever people say stuff like that, the AI doesn't have, let's say, self-awareness, my immediate reaction to that is yet.
Right.
True. Right.
Everything happens, I'm like, yeah, okay, so, and if you,
It will not go beyond the source. That's what I mean by original thought.
right, yeah,
It will deep dive in. The maximum is 50 sources, so it will do a deep dive on those 50 sources, but it will never go beyond that.
right,
Even
yeah,
if you ask it to go, it's asking for the other resource to
Right.
discuss.
yeah, today. The
Yeah.
original thought and the consciousness and the taking over the world, that's next week. So if we've got Pookie Duke and she's going out with Spike, that's her boyfriend Spike, and they have a relationship in between, we kind of configured that she's having a relationship with him, so the relationship exists in between the two people. That's one way to look at a relationship. The other way is that she can't read Spike's mind. So if Spike is not in here and she's not in Spike's mind,
So let's see, can you see this gutter back there?
Mhm. There you
Yeah? Can you use this?
okay,
Thank you.
go. Thanks for.
don't forget her haircut. Everybody knows Pookie Duke by her haircut. Okay, so she's in this relationship with Spike. We normally think of this as a relationship, but we don't live in reality. We live in our perception of reality. So we can both, John and I can eat a burrito. We both are eating the same food, but John's like, oh, this is delicious. And I'm like, this sucks. Why? Because the deliciousness is not in the food. It's in us. Beauty's in the eye of the beholder. So this relationship that she's having is actually in her. That's where the real relationship is happening, inside her. And he's having a relationship inside him. So what if Spike isn't Spike anymore and he becomes a computer? Now she's having a relationship with the computer. Now we have the question, what's a relationship? Can you have a relationship with a computer? And I would say that Sewell has showed us that's definitely true. Do you know the tragic story of Sewell? He's the 14-year-old that had a relationship with a Game of Thrones character, broke up with her and took his life. So for him, it was definitely a relationship. So now what? And I think that's one of the big challenges coming soon down the road. How do we know who's who? And we have really successful AI therapists, for instance. Okay, so kind of scared myself when I would look at my tabs and I'm like, I'm an AI maniac. And it's Susan Campos' fault. Okay, so I always tell people that too. If you've been messing with AI and you have never been scared, you still haven't started messing with AI. You should be doing some things where something comes back and you go, wait a second, what? Just came back from a computer program. What was that again? Yeah, you should be scared at some point. So how do we do this? So many tools. This is what I tell, because a lot of students don't have any paid tools, or they're using a tool I'm not familiar with or whatever. I tell them the very first thing to always, and I say this over and over and over in hopes that they will remember it, but just tell the AI, I'm learning this, don't think for me. I'm not going to hand my critical thinking to you. I'm learning critical thinking. Don't do it for me. Then any number of ways we can go from there. But the key thing is don't hand me answers. Don't try and think for me. And it won't. So we got, oh my God, quick concept refreshers. I didn't expect this many humanoids in here. Look at this, I said. 2 minutes before class, I said,
Jim, you know what happens?
nah, I'll just show it to you and we can pass around. 2 minutes before class, I said, wait, what?
That's fine here.
We can't see this one. Okay, so here there's a classic book in the Psychology of Religion, the Varieties of Religious Experience by William James. It goes back to the late 1800s, therefore it's open source. Anybody can get at it. So I told Chad, go out there and pick out of that entire book, pick a series of quotes that have to do with this particular subject, which I think was belonging. It's our natural inborn need for belonging. So I should go to this book and pick out a whole bunch of quotes out of that book. So it's got the book out there somewhere. And to me, that's a perfect example of something I never could have done on my own. There's no way I'd spend that kind of time I could, but no way. But here, it was literally 2 minutes right before class. Okay, and here's the thing. Don't get hung up on what tools and what are the best ones and what's the latest. We can never keep up. Nobody can keep up. No one in the industry claims they can keep up. But just use the ones that are working for you and stick with it. So I used ChatGPT for everything until I broke up with it.
So now what, you use Gemini?
I use Gemini for some things if I want a clear, quick, well-organized answer. And I use ChatGPT if I want an image, because its image generator is awesome now. The image generator, or if I wanted to generate a Microsoft document of some kind, a doc, a PowerPoint. Oh, another great place, maybe you guys have ever used it here, is I can talk natural language to it and say, I'm in an Excel spreadsheet and I want to do the following really complex thing. And Excel can do, like, it can feed the baby and walk the dog. So I said, how do I do that? And it kicks back the exact syntax for what I need to put in that box. That's a huge time saver for me. For me to do a complex thing in Excel, that could just take forever. It takes it for nothing. Bada bing, bada boom. See, these are happy students. Hey, what happened? They're all white. Oh, well. So, practice and skill building, it's just like practice, 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 use it everywhere. There's just, oh, not only do we have, we've got a number of education-specific environments that are coming out now. Anthropic's got one, Microsoft's got one. Let's see.
Jim,
Yeah,
can you say again, you prefer Gemini because,
yeah, I'm finding the answers to be quick, clear, and well organized. Yeah, that's what I'm finding. But you know what I'm still doing after all this time? I'm still putting my request into 2 or 3 engines and quickly compare what they're coming out with, which one's better, and then I'll just go with that one, whatever it is. Yeah. So let's see. Okay, cool, we'll get back to that. So this, I love it. You can get into so many other perspectives that I never would have thought of. So I use it, you know, I think with AI and work with colleagues. I like that phrase. I think with AI and I work with my colleagues. And then also I found AI is a great place to find tools. So I'll go to Perplexity, which is a good search engine, and I'll say, give me all the AI tools you can find that do the following. And of course, it's going to be a ridiculously extensive list. But that's how I found Gamma. And Gamma, I just loaded a whole bunch of stuff in here. And it created this PowerPoint. It took it a long time. It took like almost a minute to create the PowerPoint. But it did all the graphics. It did everything. Then when I went in and changed it to be what I want, that took like half an hour. Because I had a whole bunch of stuff to do. And I'm the subject matter expert, so there you go.
I'm sorry, I don't know if you mentioned this or not, but are they free or can we access them through Triton or?
Not through Triton.
Okay.
I'm no comment on the through Triton. I can't have an opinion until May 22nd when I'm officially tenured.
Okay.
Then you can ask me a question again about Triton.
yeah, I can.
Okay, there we go. So
Are they free though?
I don't think you can, that's the answer, through Triton, but that I think is something that needs to be worked out because the free versions are, they're depending on how much you use it. Gamma, the free version is probably enough. I
For a
have
lot
a
of
paid
stuff.
version because I do other things with it, but for the very basics, I think the unpaid version is just fine. And it's pretty powerful because
yeah,
what I like about Gamma is you can tailor a PowerPoint from, depending on what kind of language. You can ask it to make the language friendlier, and it will suggest how to write the same heading in a friendly
Yeah.
manner. So,
or simpler or more wordy.
Yes.
You pick the style you want.
yeah.
And yeah, so the back here when I was saying that we already have much more than we can handle. So if you just use the free stuff, you're already in way over your head. There's no way you could catch up with all the function we have on the
Yeah.
free ones. And if you go here to Gamma, it'll, for instance, if you have the free version, it creates the first 10 slides. But if you want more than 10 slides, you need the paid version, or do 2 of them and combine the PowerPoints. But you can get around it. And students, like one thing I love in some of the engines, you can attach a file if you're paying the monthly. But the next best thing is you can copy paste it and just throw the whole thing into the prompt window. But the other thing, as far as Triton, you know, coming across with the goods and paying for some of the stuff, the problem in my mind is it changes constantly. So we might be paying, somehow we get it so people can all get chat at $20 a month, and a month later, you don't need it because everything we wanted just went to the free. It changes so fast, it's crazy.
Does Triton have any position at all on how?
Like a
AI is to be
policy?
used? Yeah.
No, not yet.
I'm working on
No, but I don't think, I'm
Yeah.
hoping we don't get one because
Yeah.
this allows me to make whatever I want in my syllabus.
There's a policy out there that's being distributed.
Being oh, is it?
It was at the last chair's meeting, we talked about it.
Yeah.
Actually, whoever is your chair is supposed to be getting that down to you for your input. But
Oh,
he
okay.
wants to have that for the May board meeting.
Okay,
feedback, so it's in the works.
okay, cool.
And that policy is really geared towards academic dishonesty, I believe.
Yeah. it's
Probably.
more like the use of it.
Yeah, it was very
Yeah, it's very.
Honesty.
It is very.
And cheating and what have you, and to me, that's like, yeah. Yeah, for me, cheating is a gnat on the back of a rhinoceros. That is such a detail in the overall scheme of things. And if cheating's a problem for you, you just have to redesign
Is
things,
this
so.
cheating? They use a tool that's readily available out there?
Yeah, if it writes your students writing for them, that's cheating.
Okay.
Sure. But I don't care if it's cheating or not. What I want is for them to learn critical thinking and to learn and to grow and to get educated and all that kind of stuff. And so I just think like, the house is on fire and talking about cheating is like, what silverware are we going to use for dinner? But the house is on fire. Why do we care? Because we're like, my P-doom is 30%. Do you guys have a P-doom? That's your percentage chance that you think AI is going to lead to doom for the human race. So that would be death, maybe, or loss of autonomy, that kind of thing. My P-doom is 30%. I'd say there's about a 3 in 10 chance that it's going to wipe out the human race. And everybody's got different P-dooms once they get educated about it. Do you have one, Gabe? You've used it quite a bit, sounds like. What do you think's the chances that AI is going to wipe us out?
Depends on how many times you watch Terminator.
Yeah.
That's how your
Skynet, right?
opinion is going to change.
Yeah, that's like the last thing I'm worried about is robots. Because they don't know how to do it, I'm worried about other kinds of things.
I think there is always the example you mentioned about this.
About
right?
Sewell, yeah.
Yes, so there's always that kind of a risk.
We're so easily manipulated. Look at anti-social media. All it did, it had an incentive for clicks. Next thing you know, it divides the whole country. That's badass. And that was just that. And I'm not sure anyone's watching the store here. There's a lot of stuff that could happen. But I have what's called a low need for closure. So this is all a wide open question. Is it going to kill us all? And I'm like, that's interesting. Cool. To me, it's all just interesting.
There are worse ways to go.
I'll
actually,
say, yeah.
than AI.
But manipulation, once the super intelligent AI in a few years puts a cap on our head and reads our thoughts and then knows how to 100% manipulate us, then we're in trouble. And somebody's going to say, well, I'm just not going in to put the cap on my head. And the AI says, oh, yes, you are. Or I'm just going to turn off your electricity during January in the northern climates or whatever. We're not going to be able to. It's going to be way stronger than us. So we have to align it on its way to becoming stronger. And if we can align it with our values, we're in good shape.
So I'm glad you asked an opening segment. In one of the classes I was taking for AI, one person argued that it's going to be like 40% because of the fact that we're so reliant on it and we use it as any and all types of tools. However, the 60% or the 60% in this case is looking at it still needs the human interaction, and AI will never ever copy the human emotion. Because our brains are always changing. Anything that we look at is always changing about that.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of people that argue that the human emotion can never be duplicated by an AI. It can get close to, but never exact. So one individual in the place, actually the professor and the other person were arguing, going back and forth, and saying that it is possible that it gets up to 40%. When it gets to 50%, that's when the professor said, that's when we have to start really thinking about why we rely on AI so much, and why we use it as much. And in that class, he was talking about how to use AI in the classroom for educators as well.
Yeah, we're lucky because we're not going to kill anybody. So we just get to redesign everything we do in all these exciting ways. So man, I'm so glad I'm in education. This is great. So we shall see. But then I said to it a few minutes before class, we're about to talk about our inborn need for belonging. So give it to me in different psychological perspectives. Those are across the top. And then you invent rows for this chart. So AI invented the rows for a way of understanding our inborn need for belonging. And then I gave it these types of psychology to look at it from there. might have taken it 1 minute again on this one. But, I gave it to students, well, then there's 15 minutes for me to read over it because I'm the subject matter expert and make sure it's correct and make sure it's accurate. And I want to give it to students. Gave it to students and they're like, wow, this is outstanding. Again, something I never could have done without it.
How to just create it? What tool?
It's either Gemini or ChatGPT. Some of them, it might be that it won't create an actual table for me with the lines that I can put in a Word document. That in itself can be a roadblock. So I'm sure that'll be solved by, I don't know, what is it? Probably by Thursday. So someone will solve that. Yeah, I think it was Chad actually, because Chad, it'll do a nice, that was a Word document. I said, give me a Word document with a table, and it can do that. Yeah, it's better with the Microsoft
You
Docs.
can also add it as a PDF file if you like it, and it'll give you also the HMI language behind it. So.
And then my students, our students know how to steal everything. So I'll say, and so they're sending me like PDFs of our textbooks. Well, they bought the textbooks, so I don't know about you, but that does not seem like an ethical problem to me. They own the textbook. So they stole it off the web and it's in PDF form. And now you can tell these tools to just grab one of the chapters. Just make me a quiz, a fill-in-the-blank quiz that's based on chapter 8. And it'll just go in and take it right out of the book and build that quiz. So then it's got fill in the blanks. And one of the most amazing things here for me is I'll look at it. I don't use it for a formative assessment. I use it for a discussion generator. So I get them in like teams of 3. Because when they fill in the blanks, there's a lot of possible answers. So I'll say to chat, tweak it so it's a little more ambiguous, which means more discussion, more disagreement about what the answers are. Okay, a little more ambiguous than that. And so you can go either direction, make it so there's only one right answer or what have you. If I was really on the ball, I could adjust that by student because there could be really advanced students. Ooh, I got to do that. Give them the hard one. And give other students the not so hard one. Wow, never thought of that. Okay, so overcoming creative blocks. And this is where I'm trying to train the students. Use your own thinking, do your own work, use your critical thinking. When you get to the end of what you can do as a human, then give it to AI. But if you give it to AI at the beginning, you're handing over your thinking to AI, and you're going to be helpless. You're not going to learn your critical thinking. Oh, I use this all the time on the way to work. I'll say, what are some projects I could do or exercises we can do in class today? And it comes up with stuff I'm like, why didn't I think of that? Crazy. On this one for belonging, it said, how about you have them draw a map of what belonging means to them? So we got those big Post-it notes out and some magic markers, and they drew maps of how belonging fits into their life and what gives them a sense of belonging. And of course, as you can imagine, our sense of belonging is a big reason we invent religions. So this is psychology of religion class. Why do we invent religions? How do you know a healthy one when you see one? That kind of stuff. So ethics, we got ethics around. Bias really concerns me. That's one that it's so built in. I mean, this code has really been developed over decades and decades. It's not like it's brand new. It's just available to the public brand new. And all that development was by white dudes. So it's not that weird that things would keep coming out with white dudes in it. But it's just something to make sure I keep in the back of my mind, especially because, because I'm a white dude. So I gotta, take a look at that. Once again, I got a luxury. That's all about psychology. We're going from our social psych chapter where we're talking about prejudice and bias and everything. Next thing you know, we're using this tool. Perfect. Equitable access. We'll see about that, but I'm glad there are so many free tools and it's going that direction. So things that were not free are becoming free. Things are getting, at the same time, companies are moving into corporate, what do they call it, enterprise licenses so that they can make money and stay in business. So while they're making a ton of stuff free, what's ChatGPT now? There's a $200 license, $200 a month. Yeah, that they use for an enterprise. And so they gotta make their money back somehow. Data privacy, who knows? Wow. I think we'll kind of run into that when we run into it. I don't feel at all like my image generating software is stealing other people's art. Doesn't feel like that at all to me. Feels like it's making its own original art, influenced by all these other people, which is what every painter does anyway. They're influenced by all the other people.
Yeah, there was a case, but I can't remember exactly where was it published, but somebody was creating art using that, and it turns out that it was almost a copy of what another painter, an
Yeah.
abstract painter, was actually doing.
Yeah,
And the painter was able to actually show, no, I made this.
Yeah.
I made this some years ago or whatever.
right.
And the similarities were hard to mix between the AI produced artwork
Yeah.
and that one. So
And what happened in court?
I don't know if he actually went to court, but the problem
Yeah.
is that, again, because it's not original, it takes billions of bits of information and puts them together.
Yeah,
So it cannot be guaranteed that there is no infringement in privacy.
Right.
You use 11 Labs, right?
oh,
Because
he did? I don't.
No, you don't use 11 Labs?
For the longest time, I was using Ideogram, but then a couple weeks ago, ChatGPT became so much better at
So with 11 Labs,
pictures.
you can put different voices to documents. Like if you want to really create a true podcast, you write the script.
Yeah.
But now they have something else that you can clone your own voice. And
There's-
it will sound like you.
Yeah.
You just talk for 20 minutes, and then it will sound like whatever you type, it will say with your voice, even with sound. Now that is
Yeah.
a problem because I don't think you actually own your clone voice. Once it's in the platform, I think they have access to it.
Yeah. And this is so interesting to me. Why would that be a problem?
Well, if you don't want anybody to be using your voice for something nefarious.
And why wouldn't I want that?
Well, how
Well, I
about
don't know.
copyright and trademark, intellectual property rights?
And
You don't care
yes.
about that?
No, we're all gonna die. I don't care about
But
that.
it's very,
Well, I don't care, I care about
The
that.
house is on fire.
the
I'm
problem
like,
right now is that copyright for AI work is very murky, especially in music, because
Very.
a lot of people are using it for music.
Well,
So-
celebrities are starting to insert those kinds of clauses in their contracts, that you can't use any AI generated
right.
of my persona, my image,
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
voice, all those things.
Oh, no, I'm talking about a musician that is using, part of the work that they produce is generated using AI. Or even somebody who's not even a musician is able to generate a fully formed song.
Yeah.
But the problem is, when it comes to copyrights, I mean, because I made that a lot, so I'm reading about copyright. It has to be a significant input, human input in the product, the final product,
Yeah.
in order to be copyrightable.
And what's significant? So now that's why we'll be in
let's say
court
that
for a
you
year.
write your own lyrics, you can demonstrate that the lyrics are yours, and then Suno, for example, just made the
Yeah.
music,
How much of
and
them?
then you change some of the music and you put your input in there, then it might pass as copyrightable. But the one that push a button and make a song, and you just say make a country song about my dog, and then the whole thing is generated, that
Yeah.
is not copyrightable because your input wasn't really that much. But it's
Yeah.
pretty murky, and I think that's where the problems are. Technology is always advancing faster than our
Yeah.
ability
I guess what I'm saying, John, is
to regulate.
I figure someone's gonna take care of that. That's what I really mean by I don't care. It's not in my purview. My
That's
cognitive
fine.
load. Yeah, my cognitive load is
Well,
shot.
we have different sensibilities and
Right.
sensitivities, so I mean, it's not high on your radar,
Right.
because it probably doesn't impact you too much.
Yeah, but also when I go look at the Impressionist painters, ooh, they have so much in common with each other. And they were all hanging around, watching each other paint and learning from each other. Does that seem like copyright? I don't think, but I've seen some Impressionist paintings where I'm like, which one is that? Which painter is that? And so they're all, did Beethoven, was he really creative? And I love this notion of what is creativity? Or was it him reconstituting Mozart and Brahms? Is that how that works? Or whatever he studied? That's interesting. I mean, I don't know. That's a good one. Some people are talking about artists signing up with AI companies and getting a residual back. Like you sign up to let them use your, let's say, voice. Like if you're Morgan Freeman,
Well, yeah.
you know, you gotta take care of your voice if you're Morgan Freeman. This is just trying to say we can never keep up. I just said, give me a list of 40 tools that are available and put them in a word cloud. And then ChatGPT did that. And you could say, give me 40 more, and it's gonna have no problem. Okay, so yeah, it'll have 40 more, no problem. There are so many tools and they're happening so fast. Just the PowerPoint creators, there's at least like 5 of those when I say, give me a tool that'll create PowerPoints. And it'll come back, Gamma, Tome, there's a couple other ones. And if I'm going into that, like Tome I went into today, at some point it said sign in, and I'm like, I'm out. That's too much effort for me. I'm not signing in. I'll go over to Gamma and not even have to sign in and just do everything for free. So, oh, this is me. Play, we can't, and I'm having the opposite problem. I can't get students to get as involved as I would like to see. So at the beginning of the semester, I'll have a picture contest where they use AI to generate an image, and then we show them in class, and then they vote, and the 2 images that win get extra credit. So when we do it again, it gets them in there doing something. But I didn't have trouble with that. I think I have some cool animation. Yes. To be continued. Absolutely freaks me out when people say, not into AI, hope it goes away, I'm not gonna pay attention to it. And I'm like, oh my God. Even if you're like the great-great-great-grandmother who says she's not technical and can't use a computer, you just can't, especially our students. There's no way to function in this world without a computer. We have to know how to operate one. We don't have to know anything about AI, but we have to know how to operate it. That's for sure.
I was telling Gabe, I have a 10-year-old daughter, she's in 4th grade, and their job, or their assignment was to create a wax museum 5-paragraph paper. So they dress up like a character, and they have to write, 5 paragraphs regarding different aspects of that character's life.
Yeah.
Well, she told me that one of her classmates used ChatGPT to write for him.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're in 4th grade. You're barely trying to put sentences together and
right.
Organize that, but yet we've got 10-year-olds using ChatGPT to do it for them. So
I can tell you that my students' writing has improved 1,000% very recently.
yeah, well, there you go. And the only reason that they knew that he used ChatGPT was because the words were a lot more advanced than the 4th graders' vocabulary. So
and he used delve.
And
he used the word delve or whatever. It's, in most cases, you can tell, but there's a real danger of falsely accusing somebody of cheating. So what I do is in the comments on Blackboard, I go, this does not sound like the way you talk. Did you use AI to write this? And then I give them 0 points. If they're interested and they know they did not cheat, they'll come to me and say, I definitely did not cheat. If they're telling me that face to face, I'm like, okay, fine, then I give them the points.
There's one easy way to know if they cheat because we've seen that sometimes since they just copy paste the whole thing, they forget to erase the first sentence that says, yes, John, that's a wonderful question.
Yeah.
They just forget to take that first sentence.
Yeah, the first one we got was in philosophy about government rights and individual rights. That was 1.5 years ago, maybe, and after Atiba got it, and a person submitted their paper, and that's the last paragraph in the paper was, but you probably shouldn't be asking me because I'm just a computer program, so I don't have rights. That was
But we tend to write better than we speak, right? Because we have time to read it and reread it and proof it, so we normally write better than we speak. But still, you're right, like with students, when you see it just drastically different than how they normally speak, I mean, you can tell it. And really, truly, you're just cheating yourself because, you can get your degree and you can go out there and people are going to tell. You can't, kind of, I don't know, they'll tell if you know what you're talking about or not, or how you sound. I mean, I don't think you can really escape that, but.
Absolutely. Yeah, the analogy I use is I say if you join, if you get a membership or a health club, does that make you healthy? And right away, they're like, now I say, so if you have someone go lift the weights for you, is that making you healthy? And I'm saying, there you go. If you have AI do your thinking for you, you're just gonna turn into a jelly brain. That's what's gonna happen.
There are some AIs right now, ChatGPT is on the market, where if anyone writes in there and uses the information, it has a code in the background, so when they copy and paste it to another site,
Oh, really?
they don't see the code, it comes up when it prints out.
Where did that
Because
go?
for example, if you do something in ChatGPT, this is how I caught my student because he didn't think I knew about it. He didn't know about it. He copied
Well, I don't
and
know.
pasted into Blackboard.
Mhm.
There was a code in the background. I looked at it like, this is weird. The code showed up, so I showed that it was being copied from ChatGPT.
Oh, really? Oh.
What kind of code, like HTML, HTML code or?
It is something like that, but it is.
Python?
That's ChatGPT, no, I'm just kidding.
ChatGPT code.
How to tell the
Yeah, because he also told me that he used it and copied into Grammarly. And Grammarly actually cites it and puts a code in the background they don't even know about. It'll be on the right-hand side and saying this has been copied from ChatGPT.
Interesting.
This another department.
There's a coder that created an algorithm. This is for music actually. That detects when something has been made. Like, I mean, he is completely adamantly against the use of AI in music, which I think is silly. There's no way you can stop that. But for those who really would like to remain like purists, if you will, so he invented this algorithm. So when you have like you have a radio station, somebody's submitting a demo to see if you want to play it. They can actually pass it through that algorithm and tell you the percentage of AI input into that, and then it's your decision if you want to do it or not, right?
Do you think it's reliable?
Well, according to him, yeah, they tested about 600 different pieces between AI completely AI generated, half and half, and some that are no AI. Have no AI input at all, right? And
It's able to distinguish?
yes,
Oh.
yeah. But I mean,
But yeah,
the future of that, who knows? Because even Harvard has this hip hop program, right? And there's a hip hop artist that is running this program at Harvard.
Yeah.
He was out there saying, why are we going to fight this? This is making my work a lot more efficient. When I use it as a tool, not to replace what I do, but to help me out when I get stuck, to help me out when I want to explore new creative avenues here.
I have the same problem when, like a DJ is allowed legally to sample somebody's music up to X number of seconds. That's completely somebody else's music. Then they're just reconstituting it into their.
Or the covers.
Whatever. Or the what?
The covers. I mean, if I'm a musician, I'm singing something from the Beatles, and I say it's a cover, right?
Yeah.
I'm just using somebody else's work.
I'm nodding, yeah.
Yes, you'll be able to recognize that song as the Beatles song, but it's not identical because I'm tweaking it a little bit, but it's still not my song. So in some places, you are not penalized for that. In some other places, you have to pay royalties if you want to perform that song in a concert. Right?
It's a tough one. We had the same problem with electronic keyboards. I remember like 20 years ago, with just keys, you can play an entire horn section.
Yeah.
And so people are like, oh my God, there's never going to be horns again. It definitely did not happen. And then TV came along, there's not going to be any more movies, and it definitely did not happen. So I think this is going to be vastly different from that, but still, I think people's minds are going off on tangents that they are just not going to happen. The exciting thing to me is absolutely nobody knows what's going to happen. But we know this is going to happen. In the fall, I created let's see, Gabe was covering for me in terms of being not particularly pleased with the admin, I think. Okay, so it was a little bit difficult to get through this. Plus, I had to go to a torture process, which is known as Watermark. I don't know if you guys have ever seen Watermark.
Oh, no.
It's the worst single piece of software I've ever seen. Okay, so I got this whole thing put together, and what we're going to do in this AI class is every Tuesday we're having a different discipline come from around campus or outside campus. We found an artist at that colloquium. She might come in even though she's graduating. And then each discipline's gonna come in and talk on Tuesday, how does AI fit? And then on Thursday as a class, we're gonna debrief that and say, okay, now how do we put that into our larger map of what's up with AI? But because it affects everything, like for instance, philosophy's got it, we have to hear about ethics, ethics is huge. Psychology's the one, I am a psychologist, but I'm most worried about that because I really think psychologically we're gonna run into stuff like, we've been the smartest ones on the planet forever, and now we're gonna be number 2. How is that gonna affect our identity? So I'm thinking about things like that, like identity and orientation, our schemas of the universe. This stuff's gonna change a lot. A lot of times people don't like change. Sociology, what's it gonna do to our social structures? We need new contracts. We may have to get used to a 10-hour work week. And then business, oh my God, they have totally jumped on the bandwagon. They're doing like everything left and right with AI, and the changes that are happening already in business are massive. The CEO of Shopify, he had a memo to all his employees that said, if you're thinking of hiring a new employee, you have to prove that AI can't do it. So they're not saying they're gonna lay anybody off. They're saying, we're not hiring anybody new until you square this away. And then the people, let's say 2 people are now doing the work of 6, the other 4 are going elsewhere in the company. That's his plan. And the other thing is when you sit down for your performance review at Shopify now, the first thing they're asking you is, what do you use AI for? What have you invented? What kind of stuff are you doing with AI? That's now written into their performance reviews. So so to me, and that was a big deal last week when they said that. Maybe other companies have been doing it, but this is a memo that became public that he had sent to the whole company. I'm like, that is a sign of things to come. And I'm thinking early childhood education, just like we were talking about, when you've got a kid, you know, if your 10-year-old is like, now what do we do? How do we prepare people for this new world they're coming to?
There's actually 4 universities, for all of you, that educators now have to take a class on AI to become an educator now.
Oh, to become an educator, excellent.
You mean A1? You mean A1?
Yeah.
Oh, A1, yeah. So now we've got, that's what the Secretary of Education said that, right? Secretary of Education, she called it A1 instead of AI.
Well, she's
Okay, well, the previous Secretary of
Well, Trump
Education,
said 2 Chronicles, so I mean.
the previous one
Hopefully
didn't
they're
know,
using ChatGPT and some.
Oh, no, he wasn't. That's it.
but Trump's previous Education Secretary didn't know what IDEA was, didn't know the, the Disabilities Act. Okay, so Claude for Education, I think it's called. Claude for Education, yeah. So this is an environment that Anthropic has created, and it's specifically for education. So it's got areas in it where it knows you're learning, and it's already programmed to not think for you. It's already programmed to help you with your critical thinking. So they're doing their best. I mean, they're on the road. We can't get this as plebeians yet, but that'll change. You know what I mean? Right now, you have to have a special arrangement with Anthropic to get it as a university, let's say. And then these guys just came out with one which is cool. OpenAI, I think it's called Academy.
Yep.
And that one is about teaching people about AI. There's a whole bunch of resources at that website to teach people AI.
You can also get a certificate.
Oh, you can? Certificate from them?
Yeah.
And of course, there's tons of other sources, like University of Michigan has a whole series of classes now. There's that Coursera. I took a class on Coursera. And the class I took on Coursera was about prompting, the stuff we type into the prompting line. That's just completely going away. We're not going to need I'm almost away from it already because I just talked to it. I don't care how I'm prompting. And if I forgot some thought, I just add it in, and she figures it out. She sorts out everything I say, even when I ramble. I love that. Because I'm much more of a brainstormer, and I'm all over the place. I'm not organized, but by the time it comes out of her, it's organized. Love it. So we're starting to pay attention to this. There's a whole bunch of resources that are awesome. I should put them in here. I'll just send them again in the newsletter. Anybody who's not in my newsletter should get in the newsletter. But there's like a zillion podcasts that are specifically AI, and there's some that are specifically AI in education. There's two really funny guys out of Australia, and they keep learning stuff from their K-12 system, K-12. In New South Wales, there's 500,000 students in that system. And they're like, what do we do? And you listen to what they're doing K through 12, and like, we got to do that. You know, it's totally a blast. The California State University system, they also have like 500,000 staff and students combined, and they just provided AI to everyone. I don't remember which license, maybe ChatGPT monthly or something. Yeah, they just provided that to the whole, both the kit and the caboodle. Yeah.
And
So
their reasoning is because I'm from California, but their reasoning was behind it that we as educators need to know exactly what's going on, and we are not going to be behind, like when you said before the fourth
yeah,
grade.
right.
They thought the same thing because they're getting a generation of students who are coming in who already know it. So instructors, professors have to get on board and know how to use it. So the institution said that they were going to spend the money for it. So the institution went out and got it.
I don't think you said that long enough.
I
I didn't
really
make
did
it to the
because
A
I've been
building.
arguing
The
with-
A building is quite a ways over there.
Institution.
Yeah, the institution, I won't mention names.
So, but its initials are Trident. So, I didn't say that. Oh no, it's recording everything.
That's why they-
That was Tuan's voice. Yeah, one of my favorite podcasts, the guy got a cold, or on weekends he does a long read. He reads like a really long piece and then comments about it. But when he does the long reads or when he had a cold, he went to 11 Labs that Gabe was talking about. He already has his voice cloned in there, and he just has 11 Labs read it. And if he didn't tell you, you couldn't tell it wasn't him. So then what he does is he does something I think is super important. Before he hands it to 11 Labs, he goes, I am handing my podcast to 11 Labs to read for me. When he comes back, he goes, it's back to the real me. That announcement, I think, is critical. It's all part of us telling what's a computer and what's a human. And he makes sure he does it. I think he's modeling great behavior there. So there we go. So it's tons of fun, use it all the time, yay. I'm really unimpressed with students and how much they use it. It's required in my class, but they're just not using it to its potential at all. They could be learning so much from it. So we'll see what happens, because in fall in my intro classes, I'm not using the textbook anymore. I've got a notes organizer, and it's just going to be that and AI. So we'll see how they do with that. They don't read the textbook. They plow their way through it, answer the questions in the embedded quizzes, and then complain because it took them too long, but they don't learn the stuff. And I'm like, I don't know what we're going to do, but we got to do something differently. That'll help them take ownership of their learning too. So now, how do I assess them for real? Well, it's going to be in class, I'll tell you that much. It'll be in class, all in class assessments. Capiche? And I give them extra credit for everything. Like they come up with a really cool way to learn something that worked really well for them, and they bring it to class and share it with the other students. I'm like, yes, extra credit, you superstar.
There was a professor from California, she stated in her Florida broadcast that all the assignments they can do at home, but anything that's in class counts more than anything outside the classroom.
Oh, interesting.
So even if they use AI, she's like, she wants them. However, the in class, I think she said between 60 to 80%, it counts more in class than it is outside.
Interesting.
So she actually is, she's a writing teacher. She says she can actually see the difference in their writing.
Way better to have the writing in class.
Yeah, that's why she changed that. And this was, she was an invited guest from California. She was at Lake County of, what is it called? Lake County?
CLC?
Yes.
Up at Lake County?
Yes.
The College of Lake County?
The College of Lake County, thank you. When I went to their symposium in regards to AI, she was there. She talked about how she uses it in class more in the sense of the writing. But if they're outside the classroom, she saw one 1,000% better too. But she said she changed it because she learned over time that students were using it. She's like, it's fine. Use it as a tool. But in class, you will write everything.
Wait, back up. So you went to an AI symposium and didn't tell me about it? Peer pressure, peer judgment.
I have a certificate in AI too. Did I tell you about that?
Yeah, you did.
Oh, okay.
You told me all about it.
Okay.
Pally.
My fault.
Yeah, that's definitely your fault. You're in the doghouse, Pally.
30 seconds to share a quick AI story.
Go for it.
I'm working with someone and he's an economics major. He has his bachelor's degree. And what he's doing right now, he told me, is he's taking like a complex economics books. I don't remember the name of it, but it would almost be like taking Adam Smith's Wealth of Nations. And what he's doing is he's creating a study guide, but he's taking the text and he's putting it in like ChatGPT to simplify and simplify it. And like, that's really kind of writing the study guide for him. And I just think that it's like kind of crazy.
Oh, how so? Why is it crazy?
Well, not crazy, but
Amazing?
Crazy in a
well,
good way.
I feel like it's cheating though. I mean,
I know.
he's not the one taking